Today is January 19th, our second meeting of our fifth year, I think. We'll just go with it's the fifth year we've been doing this.
50th, yeah.
Um, and last year we set some goals for ourselves, or at least had some ideas of things that we could do in the prior year. Um, and in one particular case, while we set a goal for ourselves, really the person that did all the work was Tim. And Tim has delivered. Let's put it that way. And with that, Tim, I'm going to put the spotlight on you, and you can talk about what you spent last year doing. Your school project.
Sure. So I did bring up a copy, nice and hard. It's got pages to it. Um, People that regularly attend these meetings should have a copy already. I think Michael, yours went out day before yesterday, I think, so she'd be getting it soon. Um, we'll have to work on getting a few that are overseas. Uh, so basically, it's 22 pages. I think it texted me something like that. It's 24 pages total. Um, as you so since it is saddle stapled, which means it's 8.5 by 11 this way, but 11 by 17 this way, you have to do even pages.
Tim,
So
you actually haven't said what you created yet. You
Yeah,
haven't said
yeah.
you made a zine.
it's a newsletter.
Yeah.
So basically,
Gotcha.
it's a hard copy of ZXZ issue number 11. It is the longest we've done, or I've done. David did contribute. He did two articles, and then I did an article on Carl that then Carl reviewed to make sure it was accurate on his 1510 clone. Um, but it is basically the zine, but it isn't hard copy. Uh, I'm really happy how it came out. I went to our local print shop and kind of told them what I wanted. And I was thinking they used slightly different paper. They used a glossy paper and a slightly heavier cardstock. I think, well, maybe not. Anyhow, it came out rather well. People looked at it, liked it. Um, I don't know if we'll do another one again. It was a little pricey for those interested. It was basically the printing was about $11 per copy. Everything was funded by the Bill Miller collection. For those who don't know, a little over a year ago, Bill Miller had passed away. To save his instead of his stuff just hitting the junk pile, Lewis and myself went over and grabbed most of the stuff that was worth keeping. Lewis took some, I took the rest of it. I wasn't interested in keeping any of it because I was kind of getting rid of my hardware. So it was all sold to the folks amongst the group for what we considered a decent price, not overpriced or too low. And anything over my initial investment was put into an account and to be used for our team. And so right now, about half it's been used up, thereabouts. And you all have most of you have a ZXZ hard copy. And then we can look at, we have, I made print up 75, about 40 went out. So we still have some left over. We can get some more, to out to people. We still have plenty of funds left. I do want to save some for going to Europe. David, you mentioned about going to the Midwest Vintage Computer Fest. I could save a sum to have for you to have in that, in September if you
Yeah.
want.
Right, right.
Yeah, I'd like to have one. How do I go about getting it?
Who talked?
Yeah.
Paul Anderson.
Paul. Okay. So best thing to do, Paul, is send me a mailing at your mailing address. I think Kristen, you're relatively new, but we can still get one to you. So Paul, if you can get a hold of the electronic version, my mailing address is there. I'm going to put in a minute into chat what my website is.
Mhm.
Just give me a
Oh, you have
second
an
here.
electronic version.
Oh,
Yes,
there we
yes.
go.
Oh, okay.
So, but if you want a hard copy, let me know. Let's see.
That's all right. Thank you for telling me.
Paul, you should have one already coming your way.
Oh, thank you.
I can actually, did I print out? Give me 1 second here. I thought I printed out my mailing list.
I would like one as well.
Who's that?
This is Dave Green.
Green. Okay.
Yeah, Paul, you've got one. You're in Pennsylvania.
Correct. And thank
Okay, so
you.
one's on your way. I
Cool.
mailed, I mailed, those went out on Tuesday. My first batch went out on Monday, a second batch went out on Tuesday, and then one went out on Thursday. Larry's went out on Thursday, I think, or Wednesday, one of the two. Um, so there is I put in the chat the links to my website. If you can download the electronic version or any of the version of ZXZine or the other things, my email is in there. Email me your mailing address, and we'll get you a copy. So we have some left, and we still have plenty of funds from the Bill Miller collection to send them out. It was running about just under $3 per copy to mail out, but we have again stuff plenty in the collection. So I think it's a good use of the funds. I didn't mention in the e-zine that this was the hard copy was because of Bill, and had a picture of him and a little tribute to him. So I think his family will be happy about that. It is the longest e-zine. I started working on it probably just after the last one released last March. I kept bugging David about doing stuff for TS Pico and the stuff that he's been working on. So and I'm now got to get some ideas for the next issue. So, but if I don't know if we're getting another hard copy, I think if we did another hard copy between printing and mailing, it'd be about $20 a copy. So kind of pricey.
Yeah.
You could probably save quite a bit of money. Not, can you hear me, by the way?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. By not having the color, right? Because it's a whole color. That's what brought it up to $11 an issue. Am I correct?
Probably, but I think
Yeah.
I want it colored because I think it looks nice. So
Oh, it absolutely does.
a one time hard copy. It was never meant to be a hard copy, but just we got lucky and we got some funds. So I think the next one will still be soft. A few people were surprised because there were some people that don't regularly attend our Zoom meetings, but did buy things from the collection. Who's the guy that does the floppy days
Randy.
broadcast? He was,
Randy.
yeah, Randy. He was a bit surprised. Like, hey, how did I get this? And I explained to him, yeah, because the first ones I sent to were the people I had bought from the collection, so I had their mailing address already. So some of them probably got a little surprised.
Yeah,
But
Randy didn't quite grasp that he was on the list.
yeah, well, we didn't. I mean, we only talked about it on Zoom. We didn't talk about it in the mailing list. I didn't really send it. I just sort of, hey, they're getting it for free. They're not going to complain.
Yeah,
So,
mine showed up on Friday, and I read it all this morning, and it's a good read. And what's
but
interesting,
but Adam, you knew it was coming because we've been talking about it. So it
yeah,
wasn't,
I did know about it. Yes, in fact, we've been
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about it since January of last year, basically. I think.
right,
Yeah,
right.
right.
So, I mean, it could be a little cheaper going to maybe an online print shop or something. But I went to someone local
Yeah,
trying to,
that makes sense. Yeah.
uh, so and they did a good job. The only question was apparently I did it in Scribus and set it to A4 instead of 8.5 by 11. Like, hey, this really isn't 8.5 by 11, it's a little larger. Like, as long as you fit it, I'm happy. So, I've been only doing 75. It wasn't like I'm doing thousands of these. So, I think in general it came out pretty good, and it's glossy. It looks good. There's enough color in here to be interesting. So, if you get the PDF, it should look exactly the same. Unlike Adam, do not print it out on yourself, especially if it has, I think Adam, you printed one that had like a black front cover.
Oh,
So
oh, I don't remember. I've printed a few up. You're talking about previous ZX zines, right?
yes,
Yes. Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
you think you're doing the black? I'm like, man, they're not an ink cartridge. Damn, don't print it out. It was meant to be electronic only.
Yeah. That's one of the things I actually I wrote a couple of words about it, so a little bit later maybe I can talk about my impressions of it.
Sure, I think I'm basically done with that. So
I have questions for you, Tim. How long have you been doing ZXC?
give me one. I think about a little over 5 years, maybe a little bit longer. I think 2015 might have been the first issue.
Okay.
Give me a sec. I can go find out because I can go find where all the issues are. Give me 1 second here.
And it's always been you. Has there ever been articles or something from someone else?
No, you're actually the first contributor.
Okay.
So it was August 2015 is the first one I did. People may not know that I contributed initially to some newsletters back in the Bay Area here. When I moved to DC, I contributed some newsletters there. I became the newsletter editor. and I knew I couldn't write articles that I wanted to because of the audience. So I started my own e-zine in early 1991. My background is computer science major, programmer, that sort of thing. And so I created the QL Hackers Journal more for those who want to do more programming than just using it. So I did that e-zine. I also did that one in hard copy and soft copy because 1991, there wasn't any web. So the only thing I did was email things out to folks. And I did hard copy. I didn't charge subscription because I didn't feel like I wanted to worry about, oh, he sent me a full year and I got to complete a full year, or geez, I have to make these obligations. I just did an issue when I felt like it. So I think it cost me maybe 30 or 40 bucks to print up a number of copies. They're small, 8.5 and 11 folded. I bought my own saddle staple, mailed them out as cheap as I could. That lasted maybe a little 10 years or so. And 2015, I felt the urge to write more. So I'm like, well, I could just write things that'll go into a bulletin board, like the ZX Sinclair World or whatever. I'm like, I want to do. So I went and did the ZX zine. I had done a local newsletter myself for local ska music, and that's how I learned how to do desktop publishing. So I'm like, okay, I got the skills to do my own newsletter. So I just went and did ZX zine and also SMSQ zine for the QL scene. And I just kept doing it. It was all my own projects, what I felt like doing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the classic personal zine.
Yeah,
but if
they're
anybody
super
wants
fun and personal, like you said.
yeah, if anyone wants to contribute, again, I don't want to do listings inside the zine because we don't need to type things these days. That's why there's every single zine has a zip file that goes along with it. So if I mention, oh, I did this software, boom, it's right there. So if you go to, you've got the hard copy, right? But if you want any of those games I mentioned that I ported, the Spectrum games I ported, go to my website, download the zip file that goes with it, and there you've got those games that are mentioned. So, because I remember, I think David Solly said something about how typing things in with Pascal. I'm like, no, we would just put it in a separate file and don't need to type anything. That way you can format as you wish. It doesn't get reformatted all in the newsletter because it doesn't go in the newsletter.
That'd be really cool if you had like a micro drive case and you slid like a USB drive inside of it, so it looks like a micro drive, but it's actually USB. All the files are on that. That would be cool. Anyway,
or a tape, Carl.
Micro drive like this. I don't know if you guys have seen these, but
yeah. I mean, well, the case that it goes into, somebody could 3D print some of those, and then we can buy some USB drives, and you can make it look like that.
I even got the wallet that goes with it.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just had me sitting here, and I keep it close by.
All right.
Yes.
Tim, what was the first thing you held up?
Oh, that is a QL micro drive.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you.
There you go. And then you see it says right there, word processor, which is Quill. So as much as I get into the ZX zine and the Sinclair world, I'm also still big into the QL. And in fact, the process for writing ZX zine is I will come up with an idea, I'll jot it down. I have these spiral bound notebooks for writing notes and everything. And then I will sit down with my little netbook and fire up Exchange, which is, and first I'll fire up SMSQ emulator, which is a QL emulator, get into Exchange, get into Quill, and then do all my main writing within Quill.
Wow.
And then I use a software called Quill to PC, convert Quill format to RTF, load RTF into OpenOffice or LibreOffice, and then do the final spell checking and final composition there. But the majority of writing is on a little 11-inch notebook or netbook on my recliner in Quill.
Why is that? Out of curiosity.
So I don't like white backgrounds, a little on the bright side. I've always liked the old idea of the old monitor with the green phosphor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can get OpenOffice or LibreOffice to do black background, but it's not easy, and everything else is still white background. So I looked at other word processors, looked at other editors, and it turns out that Quill is the best. It's what I'm used to. It has that black background. It runs. I can convert from Quill to something else relatively easily. It takes just a few seconds to bring up the software to convert. Um, and it looks good on my little netbook, so it works great. And I found out I'm not the only person that still uses Quill. There's another guy out there that still uses it.
Well, I mean, it's somewhat endearing to one degree because I noticed, in the stuff that I read in there, there are some grammatical errors and spelling errors. But anyway, I'm not knocking you, Tim, on any of that. I mean, that kind of gives it some more character, right? But
Well,
I just
I did have a editorial reviewer. I won't say who could have caught that.
Who
Yeah,
could
and
have
I
caught
just
those
think
things?
I try and go back and review if there's some problems. Yeah, it's not perfect. It is. I don't
Well,
have someone who really sits down and does a thorough review. So
that's the
maybe
nature of
Carl, if
these
you're willing to
newsletters.
volunteer,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you could copy that file, yeah, like into Word. Word's so freaking great with the grammar and the spelling these days. The little squiggly red lines under
oh
everything.
yeah. Well,
And so, anyway, but yeah, I mean, if next time you want to do something like that, yeah, sure, let me know.
all right.
I mean,
I'm down to
the other
volunteer.
thing too is, like I said, it does add some flair to it's a human produced thing, right? You can really
Yeah,
kind of tell with that.
nothing's perfect. I remember reading published books and going, "Oh, that's misspelled," or that's
hmm
and these are books that are, they print out thousands of copies, but it still happens. So
Right, right. They've
hey,
got proofreaders, and they should have caught
yeah,
that, but they don't.
for the price.
Right.
Yeah.
But I may take you up on that offer then, Carl, because I got your email address and I can track you down.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Well, I didn't really, I decided, well, do I want to say something about this? But like I said, it's not a knock. I mean, yeah, some things are misspelled and there's some grammatical things, but like, it adds, character to it.
Yeah, that's part of the charm of a zine versus a very professional. I mean, granted, it's in color and it's on slickish paper, but it's not Crash, or one of those other sort
Right,
of
right.
retro zines that are out now.
And I do load it into lately I've been using LibreOffice and then doing spell checking there. And sometimes I don't catch things, sometimes I do. Because I'll see a lot of red squiggles for misspelled, but it's like, oh, it's saying, if I'm typing like ZXZine, or I'll go, oh, that's misspelled. Well, it's not really, so pick up things like that. So
Well, a
LibreOffice
lot of
has
these.
its own idea of how to do things sometimes also, which can be annoying.
yep. So also I'm seeing chat. David mentioned something. Hey, David. So I remember you talking when I first mentioned ZXZine and asking people to contribute articles. You had mentioned about formatting Pascal programs in the document to make sure it's formatted right. And so I was saying that doesn't come into play because none of the source code goes into the document. The source code, the binaries all go into a separate zip file. I don't like the days of having of type in listings. We don't have to anymore. So if someone has, I got this 3-page source code, fine. You write the article goes into the ezine, and then the actual source code then goes into the corresponding zip file. So everyone's got a hard copy should go to my website, which I posted earlier in chat, and pick up the zip file for number 11 because it has the software, it has Tom Bent's ROM and the other stuff mentioned in the newsletter. So if I mention some code I wrote, it's going to go into the zip file. And hopefully I went through the newsletter article by article saying, okay, that's these files, that's these files, that's these files, then created a zip file for all that.
Tim,
So,
I do find it amusing that you say there's no code in the newsletter, but there is quite a bit of code in the newsletter, actually.
but it's not it's not complete. It's sort of
I
an
understand that.
example.
Yeah.
I'm
And
not
by
going
the
to be
way, I
like,
love that. So it's
yeah, I
just
want to give examples explaining it, but I'm not going to like, if you look in the old days, they had like 3 pages of
oh,
code.
absolutely. Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I'll do example stuff for short routines to demonstrate stuff, but the idea is not to type it in, but just to read it and then go get the zip file and download it and use it that way.
Yeah,
So,
but to your point, Tim, you don't have to do that. You don't have to print the code because we now have the internet. We can say people
right. But unless I'm discussing the code specifically, oh, this line does this line does that. Good to see it. But I'm not going to print out the whole program. I may print like a short routine. I think the one Adam referred to was the very last article about
Exactly.
assembly, the
Yeah.
timer. That
Yep.
was actually
You
a
got it.
relatively short program.
Right. Oh, I wasn't saying it was too long or anything. I just, I don't think
Yeah, there's
like we
code
can
there.
talk about these classic computers without putting some kind of basic code or Z80 code in the case of like a system using the Z80, because it's just the nature of what they are and how we talk about them and use them. I mean, if we're not going to be using that kind of stuff, if I'm talking about a Windows computer, I'm not going to start putting out a basic Windows program, you know? It's not the way these computers are used nowadays.
Adam was just trying to beat my cojones. You said there's no code, there's code.
I want it in there. I'm good with that. This last week, I've been typing in some basic programs along with ChatGPT and for the Astrocade, and it's interesting because it works pretty well. Like I mean, once you train ChatGPT, it finds errors that are in the programs, and you can, yeah, it's if it would be interesting to take some of these basic programs that are on the site already and feed into ChatGPT, because it takes and like will take all the variables out there for you. It'll tell you what the variables do. And I started looking at them, and it's right. I'm like, how is it figuring this out? I don't know, but it's an amazing time.
Well, Adam, I was following that conversation in the email list,
Oh,
the
on the
Astrocade
Astrocade site?
email list, yes. And
Oh,
someone said that they fed the manual, the programming manual.
I did.
You did, okay.
Yeah,
And so, did you notice an improvement after?
absolutely. Like
Okay,
it went from being 90% dumb to being 90% smart
okay.
afterward. Yeah. Yeah. It's the problem with it is ChatGPT has like a limit. I don't know what the limit is. I can't find that out, but it starts getting slower and slower the more information you feed it. And then eventually everything that you've posted about, except what you tell it explicitly to save in memory, it just says, sorry, it's gone now. And you can't get it back.
Well, and
But I've been
that's the fundamental right there with that. What Adam is told, you have to train these AIs.
right.
That's the whole point of AI.
Yeah.
AI in and of itself isn't anything better than you know,
Than
if it
me.
has nothing, right, if it has nothing in its mind, or you haven't trained it on whatever model or information you're looking to get AI'd, right, then yeah. So I mean, and then of course with the stuff that we're dealing with, the personal things that, yeah, Adam's probably right, where there's a limit to how
Mhm.
much,
Yeah.
until you start giving money to somebody
Yeah.
to use their data centers. But anyway.
And also the problem with it is it's only like whatever I teach it, unless I share that personal chat with someone else, it only knows it for me. And so that's it. That's it.
Adam, you
It's
said you had some notes about Tim's
oh
about ZFC.
yeah, well, okay. I guess I should back up and I read this copy this morning. It took me about an hour, a little over an hour to read it from cover to cover. And so afterwards I was trying to write down some notes. So I took these about 20 minutes before the meeting started, so you'll get what you get. Um, but let's see. There's an editorial, and I like that Tim gave some backstory on Bill Miller's history with the TS computers. And I feel that people know a lot about the hobby or about his hobby, as Tim said, but don't know the involvement with it. So, like, what I think that's interesting about that is like my wife knows that I'm into the Astrocade and the Timex computers, but if I was to fall over in the street and not make it up, she wouldn't know anything. You guys would know more about my background there than she ever would, you know. Um, and so Tim also brought up a history. I don't know where'd you get the history from about him? Like, how did you talk to the family?
Tim,
Some of it was from his obit, but also it's from I've known Bill since 86, 87. Even when I went out of state, every time I came back, I'd visit him, we'd talk. He was on my mailing list, and I was on his mailing list. So, I mean,
Hmm.
I remember visiting his house and going, I've been here before.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I knew Bill fairly well. He's been to my house. He came to the QL show I did in '98. Uh, so yeah, I remember being a regular attendee. He'd come up to the Peninsula meeting I used to go to in the late '80s. So known him
Yeah.
for a while. He actually had some. I had some hardware of his. He had some of my hardware. So basically said, "Hey, why don't I just keep your hardware and you keep my hardware?" I said, okay. I mean, this was like I think we exchanged hardware sometime in the late '80s, and then like 10 years later we hadn't re-exchanged. I'm like, okay, 20 years later, that's cool. Call it good.
Yeah, I had a friend who passed away a few years ago with Atari items, and when I was, his family gave them to me, and when I was going, hey, some of this actually belongs to me already. So yeah, you just things go back and forth, and you kind of forget who owns what or who has what, and that's just the way it goes in this hobby.
Well, I picked up a QL that he owned. Someone on the East Coast said, "Oh yeah, Bill sent this to me for repair. I did something. So can you get it to him?" I just had it and talked to Bill. It's like, ah, don't worry. But when you come see me next, bring it with you. And that was many, many years later, and then he kind of forgot. So,
Yeah.
but he was
I
fine. He was fine.
let's see. I covered an article by this really great writer who wrote about the TS Pico. I mean, this guy knows how to write. It was David, by the way. And it's called a modern storage solution system. And I just wanted to say that his insight into the goings-on in the background, behind the scenes details of the development of the hardware was pretty cool to see all in one place. And I knew some of it because I actually take place in just a few of the Wednesday meetings. But like Gustavo was talked about in there, and like I just didn't know like the people's history really. So I found that enlightening, like more than just the hardware side, because I know about the hardware side, but the people side and who's working on it, both the software and the hardware was pretty cool. So thank you for that, David.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
So Tim, um, are you willing to do it again?
Hard copy? We can work out the financials on that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm working on the next issue, and then another issue will happen. Whether we do it hard copy or not is up in the air.
Mhm.
So, do we still have money from the Bill Miller Fund that
Okay.
could do another? We may just print less this time. I don't know. To do on a regular basis,
Oh,
it would be
I don't mean a regular basis. I was
yeah,
commit to one. Like you were saying with subscriptions, right? Because then you end up in this sort of debt
obligation.
situation, right?
Yeah.
No, but
Um,
let's commit. Are you willing to commit to one more?
so I will do another ZXZ, and I will continue doing them. How
Right,
often, I'm
right.
not sure. But and the more material I get, the sooner it'll come out. Hint, hint.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, and I mean, it's all I'm doing is writing about the stuff that I'm doing, hoping others might find it interesting. Because I read what other people do, and go, oh, that sparks an idea for me. Let me go do something like that, and that was fun. It's like someone says, "Well, gee, I went to this restaurant. You got to try it." I go, "Well, that was great. Okay, thanks for the hint." So, but I will do another one. I'm already start working on some ideas. Um, Hard copy. I think we got enough funds to do another hard copy.
Mhm.
So we're getting a nice list of people to send. So we could probably, I mean, I printed 75. We could probably get away with 50. So, but we did at least do the one. Let's think about the next one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
you don't need to do it on a regular schedule. Some of the science fiction fanzines, like there would be three in one year, and then it would be 4 years before the next one came out. And they basically were like, they were always people like you guys just doing stuff in between work and all of the other things that happen in life. And they were like, oh, well, I didn't have time for like 3 years to get one out. So, here's the next one though.
Or it's the idea of I didn't have any good ideas. I mean, any ideas for writing articles. Sometimes I'll have a good idea. Uh, Sometimes I have an idea that turns out to be more difficult than I thought to do. Uh, but I'll give it a shot, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, so, and sometimes like the OS64 stuff I did, it was like, oh, this is truly too long for an article in the zine. So let me go and just put it out separately. So,
and I'm looking at the list of people who are here today, and you know, every last one of you has some unique uh, position, some unique, um, story that you could relate easily. I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just saying that, having interacted with all of you guys for a couple of years now, I have a pretty good idea about, you know, where you're at in the world, and the kinds of things that you said you do and you're interested in, and other people would be interested in seeing those stories, or seeing your opinion on some aspect of computing in the Sinclair world and the Timex Sinclair. It doesn't have to be software reviews. It could just be about your experience.
I'm personally curious about what everyone uses their Sinclair stuff for, because I don't think we really hear that a lot. That
Exactly.
what is, We're interested in it, but what do you do with it? Some people build hardware, some people may write software, some people might just play games. I really don't know. So I think something like that would be also be useful too. It's like, what do you find interesting about it? Compelling, and what do you do?
A lot of my Sinclair stuff is pretty happy filling up boxes.
Well, but Carl, you say that, but also, you've been doing a lot of work, on recreating that 1510 and the cartridges, and then, even going beyond that with your new cartridge that has, those additional features.
Also,
Uh,
I thought you were like repairing other people's stuff on the side.
Like,
right.
well, I've done that, yes, but that's certainly, very, very piecemeal, right? I hardly do that, but I have done that in the past, yes.
But think about, the things that you do, for instance, what picking up on what Mowgli's saying there, uh, the things that you do, your troubleshooting process in terms of repairing, someone's computer, even that's worthwhile,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
put down and say, you know, okay, so your computer's not working, start here, you know, buy an oscilloscope, buy a, desoldering, gear, and fully stock your, your lab, as it were, and then start desoldering.
You
Well,
say that, David. Go ahead.
also one of the things would be like, okay, so you turn it on and this happens.
Mhm.
Where do you start looking?
Yeah.
Or, you turn it on, but the video is just weird as hell or whatever. What section of the computer pertains to the video? What parts of that, you know, kind of a quick summary for someone who doesn't want to go find the schematics and read through the schematics to figure out like exactly what parts are involved. Just going through like your debugging of the problems that you have seen with the various computers and, might give people shortcuts as to how to fix them more quickly.
I can also see us answering questions like, so you can tell us what you do, or you can also tell us what you want to do. In other words, like, I don't know how to do this. Maybe someone can help me. If we answer in the list, we can still put it into the e-zine as far as an advice column thing. People get answered relatively quick, but long term is documented in the e-zine for posterity.
Right. Yeah, I often feel like anything that's in the group is like maybe might be findable, but if it's in some sort of, well, especially the print, like this is going to be around, maybe only 75 copies, but this thing is going to be around forever now. So Tim, keep in mind that number, what is it, 11? Like it's around because there's a real print copy. Because when there's a pulse that's going to kill all electronics in the world, this is still going to be here. No one's going to understand what the hardware is talking about is, but it'll be there.
Remember, if you ever sell one on eBay, make sure you say rare because it's only 75. So,
That's
right.
true. Yeah.
The most common word on eBay, rare.
Rare. Nice. Excellent. Yeah, yeah. So, you know,
David, you referred to Carl talking about buy a scope, and like when Carl was over here one time, he brought his setup with him, and I have
Mhm.
myself a 30 megahertz scope, and he has like something that he bought from China for $60 like a year or two ago. That like, is that right? The price is about right, and it
I
does
think so,
everything
yeah.
mine can do, and is 10 times better. And he's like, oh yeah, and he started talking to me about the tools he buys now that from Alibaba or something. Where do you buy those?
Yeah, I think it's not
AliExpress.
Alibaba, well, AliExpress,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
Yeah,
I've
there you
done
go.
stuff from Alibaba, but mostly it's AliExpress. But
Yeah,
some of that stuff you can get here too,
yeah.
through even Amazon sells some of
Okay,
those things. So you don't have to get them from China,
but they're so
but
much cheaper.
yeah, well, that they could be a little bit cheaper. Plus, those Chinese people, whoever is making those things, they're able to pack so many features into this handheld things nowadays. It's like, I don't want to lug around a 25-pound 30 megahertz analog scope.
Right. No doubt. Don't
Where,
point fingers at me, but
well, I'm just saying, there's nothing wrong with them, but it's like it's not something you want to be you want some portable, you want something that's pretty well feature set, right? And that you can just battery power, so you don't have to worry about, you know, I mean, if you're going to work on TVs or something like that, getting the hot ground or something like. But yeah, anyway, you know, so yeah, it's just those guys. You know, unfortunately in America, we just can't make stuff like that affordably. I mean, we can make it, I'm sure, but it's just it would cost so much nobody would really want to buy it as opposed to getting the ones from China. So anyway, but go on. You're
Well, yeah, Adam, you know, I have
What?
the same thing. I have a 5 megahertz analog scope that has sat in my attic for many years.
Mhm.
And I've had a couple sort of small or handheld scopes. But during one of our little hardware meetings on Wednesdays, I spotted in Tim Horner's background a little gray box, and I asked him what it was, and he told me the model number, and it's this like, I don't know, 50 megahertz dual channel, you know, LCD panel doodad that does, you know, almost all the things. It certainly
Right.
does way more things than, you know, any scope in the 80s did. You know, and like Carl said, has, you know, a gazillion functions. It wasn't $60, but it, you know, it was way more affordable than anything else. You know, I was kind of half joking about building a lab because um, it it can get expensive, and you know, just to repair you know, a single computer or something like that, it might be, you know, overkill using a sledgehammer to, you know, drive a finishing nail. Um, but you know, if you like to build stuff, then it's worth buying all that junk.
well. The other thing
So
too, I know we had mentioned, or I had mentioned, you know, Jeff at some point uh came up with. I can't remember what you came up with. Your, but we were talking about a diagnostic cartridge, right? Because obviously they make them for the Spectrum, and in fact, I have one that you know, Byte Delight. Um, it's an old design, but you know, he's updated it, and of course, it has the Spectrum bus on it. But you know, if we could make our own, you know, 2068 bus one and update the software so that it basically does the same thing. I haven't really looked into the software. That's just kind of one of those, you know, get around to it thing. It's just, but you know, I mean, I'm sure we could massage the software in there to use the right ROM calls to do the things that it does, and that, you know, that'll help at least the 2068 folks troubleshoot, because we don't really have a diagnostic cartridge that I know of at this time, other than the one that I kind of made years and years ago. But you know, that's not available either. So plus the machine had to work for that to work because it was a cartridge.
Right.
Whereas this thing would actually, you know, if the machine's dead, at least it would tell you, well, there's voltages, you know, the little lights would light up for the different voltages. You'd see the address bus, the data bus kind of activity. Anyway, you know, I mean, it's kind of make that into a 2068 diagnostic cartridge is kind of what I was thinking, but that's just one of those things.
Well,
So I've seen a few people here on online that aren't on the mailing list. So I'm going to type my email address in a second in chat. So can Kurt, Peyton, and Christian and Johnny Red send me your mailing address? I'll make sure you get a copy.
I'm going to answer yes for them.
yeah,
Yes, they
yeah,
will.
that's a yes from all
Yeah.
of them.
Yes.
And so Rich, what's your last name? Let me know Rich's last name.
Is this Rich Burt? Maybe. Let me look. He might.
Well, remember, this is going to become public, so you might not want to talk about this too much here, right? Doesn't this get posted to YouTube eventually?
In terms of what?
Like last names, and definitely no. Well, I guess the addresses won't show up if it's in the chat. But
Usually our last name?
I don't worry about my thing. Hey, Gustavo, you're getting a copy. We sent it to Richard, or Ricardo.
Ricardo. Mhm.
Ricardo. So
Tim, I'm on your list.
Okay,
Who
okay. It's
spoke?
sent to Ricardo, and Ricardo give to
Yes.
me when return
So,
from vacation. Thank you, Timothy.
So Larry, are you Lawrenson?
Lawrenson, yes.
Okay, so you're on the list. Rich, did you get one already?
I don't.
Wave if you did.
No, I didn't.
Okay, what's your last? Is your last name Bert?
Bert, B-R-T.
You're on the list. It should get to you. So David, you in Canada. They got mailed out Tuesday, and they should take a little bit longer to get to you. So you're on the list. So again,
Yeah.
Kurt, Peyton, Christian, Just email me your mailing address. Okay, Kurt. All right, Kurt, fine. So whoever's out there that didn't get one, those are the people that are not on the list. Kurt. So Peyton or Kristen, if you want a hard copy, email me your mailing address. I'll get you a copy. So again, we have enough in the funds to pay for this sort of stuff. I think I'm going to offer some overseas, but I'll have them pay for shipping, but at least they get a copy. So we'll see what the response is from overseas.
Tim,
Yes.
I have a comment for you. If you are agree, and also maybe some extra info David could help to the articles, I offer to you, if you like, to present some TS Pico low-level programming, if you are interested to publish in your magazine.
Sure, we'll take all kinds of different articles. Again, if it's got a lot of code, the code goes to the zip file, but you can add some in the article, just highlighting it.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, perfect. I will prepare the first introduction programming language for the low-level programming in assembly language, because this part is not included in the manual, and maybe it's an extension to read to understand how works the TS Pico at the low-level interface from the Timex side, not for the Python side. Okay.
I mean, if someone wants to if it's really long, we can always break it up into sections. I know. 1 second. I don't know if you can see this, but this is Archive Made Easy by Bill Cable. This is actually nothing more than a collection of all the articles he wrote for Update Magazine, all in one big document. So we would something like that to do. Also, we can do serials if someone wants to do longer. If we do electronic, we don't care how big it is, because just once no more than 10 meg, I can put on my website. But usually it's graphics that take up space more so than text on a website. So
okay, no, the idea is because I have all the development document, and this was used during the development of the ROM, and I would like to present to the community the interface and also the API. It's interesting for the future. Okay.
Yep. And just in case you get hit by a bus, we know about it.
Is that a threat? Don't say that.
Well, I in previous jobs I've had something called a continuity file, and that was basically you document what your job was. So just in case you left or you get hit by a bus, someone knew what was going on. You didn't have that corporate knowledge only in your head. So
yeah, exactly. Perfect. Okay, thank you, Tim, for your space for me or for the group.
No problem. Send it to me. Again, I'll take it in almost any format. I think David sent me as a Docker text file, and I just any format.
You prefer PDF or you prefer Word? Like you prefer. For me,
I can read Word, I can read RTF, I can read ODT, I can read Quill format if you want. I can't.
He's only going to accept the Quill format. That's it. That's all.
Yes, there we go. I can't read MScript, anything like that, native to the 2068. Unless it's an ASCII, of course. So
no, I sent to you in Word, Microsoft Word.
Yeah, I can read Word. I use OpenOffice and LibreOffice on 2 different machines. Ubuntu is moving over to LibreOffice now, and I can read Word with no problem. So
it's better to put inside your magazine. Okay, if I send in a structure, maybe it's not easy. Okay.
You will get credit. I did credit David in the table of contents when he wrote articles, so you will get credit. So,
Tim, you brought up MScript, and there's an article in the newsletter about it, and I've messed around with it myself, because for those who aren't aware, probably everyone here is, but for future viewers, it's a 68-column word processor, and you mentioned that it was actually a port of a PC-DOS program, which blew my mind. I had no idea, and Timex was working on how does that work? Like Timex was paying this company to port it to the Timex, and then it fell through, but they finished it anyway. I
think something like that. Yes. So because the document that I found in MScript online, I'm not sure David might have scanned it, but it actually is for the original version, and then at the end it has a section just strictly for Timex. I want to say Mark Fendrick, the guy who used to write for Computer Shopper, did it. I'm not sure who digitized it, but someone did digitize it. But I think it was originally written for the Model 1 or something like that, and then
Yeah,
just ported. How they did the graphics, I don't know, but it was like one guy doing it by himself. They're like, "Hey, you want to port this? Here's the new computer. Here's the technical guide. Go have fun." And he did. I mean, he didn't have OS 64. He had to write his own 64 column mode stuff completely.
Yep.
And
Right.
that OS 64, you had to know a lot to get that working.
But will MScript work on the ZX Spectrum Next?
Probably not, because it uses the special 64 column mode in the 2068.
Unless the
Whereas,
Spectrum Next has a 2068 core, I don't know.
no, it doesn't yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know they're working on a QL core for the Next because that's been discussed online. So MScript might be useful, but with most of the emulators, you have to have this weird way of saving the tape, and ZSARS isn't terribly great. But if you're running it on a normal regular machine with TS Pico, then you're essentially saving it to disk or tape, as virtual. Whereas with the emulators, it's really difficult to use those tape. It doesn't. I wish the emulators would then support like Ollinger or those kind of things and actually support real writing it to the actual disk. SZ81 does that for the ZX81. If you write a file, it dumps the disk. It doesn't have this virtual tape thing the ZSARS does. So it makes it
I
easier.
tried using MScript on the 81 emulator, but the output was terrible. It was barely legible.
That's like real life then. That's how it looks on a television.
Yeah, I guess so.
I kind of wonder if there is a true font of like the Timex fonts for like, so I could put it into Word and then
Yes,
I
there
could
is.
write. Oh, there is? Okay.
Yeah, there's a ZX81 font, a Spectrum font, and a QL font. So if you look at past issues, you will see that if I do something in ZX81, I have sometimes used the ZX81 font.
That would be
So
kind of cool to, okay, I want my true type font to be, the Timex font. And then I can write an article and it will look like I was writing it on the 2068.
there's also a Sinclair font. So you know how the word Sinclair logo? There's actually a font for that you can then also download. If you
I
look,
also used some
I want to say
some TS source code to text
but
application. It included a font that's pretty good, but I can't for the life of me remember what the name of the font was. But I think it is public domain.
You can get the ZX81, the Spectrum, and the QL fonts pretty easy, and the Sinclair font.
Yep.
Just go to a font website and download them. If someone needs them, I think I've got them. I think I've got them as TTF files, TrueType font. I've used them a lot. If you again look at some of my other documents, you'll see that I have used those different font styles.
So you may remember Tim Horner gave us a demo of this 2040 printer emulator. And in developing that, he discovered that there is a very small difference between the ZX Spectrum font and the 2068 font, and that is in the M, the lowercase m, maybe even it's definitely the lowercase m and the lowercase w. On the ZX Spectrum, it's only 1 pixel between the vertical portions of the M and the W. But on the 2068, for some reason, it's 2 pixels. So Tim developed a TrueType font face, which I've put in the chat, that captures that. Also, he mapped Sinclair graphics shapes to their TrueType equivalents. So you've got those weird little block pixel graphics that are available. It's pretty good. I use it on the website. So if you go look at program listings on the website, you'll see that there's this extra amount of space on the M and the W.
And that really was for, probably for fringing, right? Because if you ever see the Spectrum M on a TV screen, it's
Yeah.
really it's you get the fringing going on, but with the Timex one, it's a little bit clearer because you
Okay.
have, like you said, it's a double pixel width there, so it doesn't the 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 fringing doesn't really. I mean, it's still there, but it's you know, you got a whole
When
nother
you say
pixel to deal
fringing,
with.
do you mean artifacting? Is that what you mean?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, you get the
Yeah.
shimmying things, and it kind of looks like, what the hell is that? You know, it's an M, but you can't tell because there's so much crap going on. It looks like one big, you know,
Blob.
wavering blob.
Yeah.
And so I think Timex did that to make it a little bit more readable for, you know, the actual TV screen viewers.
They
Yeah.
should have
And
fixed the composite so it would look out better, but first things first, I guess.
for Tim, it was an issue because he was OCRing the stuff coming from from the computer, and it was getting confused by the difference on that M and that W. So Tim Swenson, huge kudos to you, big thank you, because you know you did a big thing.
Yeah. And it's also awesome just to have it come in the mailbox because I was like, I took out this little piece, not a piece of paper, but a pamphlet or envelope, I'm sorry. And I was like, what is it? Then I saw your name and I was like, wait a minute, is this that magazine? And then I opened it up and I told my wife even before I opened, I think this is this magazine that I've been hearing about. And there it was. Yeah.
What, no
And so I
video
took a
of you
picture of myself
dancing?
and sent it off. I'm like, look what I got in the mail. Oh my God. Right.
Yeah, because I think I got mine Thursday, but I was like, same thing. You know, I mean, I kind of knew it was coming. I didn't know
Mhm.
when, but so, oh shit, here it is. I got Tim Swenson on there, and I was like, this is the only thing it could be, right?
Save the envelope because that's personally signed. No.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, and the envelope is even rarer because not everybody will save the envelope. Remember to put that on your eBay auction.
Well,
Autographed.
plus the envelope is from some other company. I can't remember. There's something on
Oh,
there
you
that
got the
they're
white
covered in
one.
labor.
So yeah. So that was an old guy. I started that company in 2008. And when they were ending, I just grabbed a bunch of stuff. And so I had these envelopes, like, I got these envelopes, I'll use those up. And the rest of them were in brown envelopes.
Okay.
I have, I don't know if you guys can see this, but I have these post-it notes for my past company, Exablocks. Were, when we got bought by Storagecraft, they got rid of about 30 pounds of these post-it notes. Okay. I grabbed all 30 pounds. I have a box here that I've been using for the last 5 years now, and I ain't even gotten through half of them. But hey, I love them. I use them all the time. They're constantly everywhere. But I'm like, why not? Who cares if it's got this old company name on it? You know, it works. So
Cool.
and then the on store one, when they closed, we found this cabinet. We opened the cabinet, we go, because we were moving, and then we go, oh, there's hats, there's t-shirts. What the? So I must take like maybe 8 or 9 hats. And I still have one or two that I've been using since probably 2011. So
my envelope is even rarer, is what you're saying.
yes. The first batch went out. I just reused those old on-store envelopes. Like I got these, I'll just reuse them. They're good.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it turns out the brown ones I actually had running around also that I bought years ago, sitting on the bottom of a pile, and I pulled them out and said, okay, these are working. So
Cool.
that kept the cost low again, because that stuff I already had.
Right.
Very cool. So the other thing that I wanted to bring up is that the folks who run the Vintage Computer Midwest sent out an email last week saying that they've nailed down when and where for the next VCF Midwest. I'm going to just share my screen so it's
the
visible.
12th
There we
and
go.
13th. Or
Yes.
13th and 14th.
13th and 14th.
Yeah.
Yes, and we have Mowgli, who's one of the folks involved. So my personal hope is that I will see many of you there. I plan on going and bringing along everything I can, and setting up a table to show off not just the old stuff, right, but the new stuff, the current stuff, like Tim said, the ZX Zine. I want to have I want to have some of those available.
Well,
And
also like the TS Pico and some of the other modern hardware stuff, it would be really interesting to see because most of the things that I have seen in the past at Midwest have been mostly the older stuff.
yep.
And I mean, it's nice to see the older stuff, obviously, but it's also kind of fun to poke people and go, well, you can play with it now. You just need this little box here, and poof, there you go, and
Yes.
things like that.
Thank you, Oakley. That's exactly what I was going to say.
And I am committed to help you out, David, again. I think I talked to you during one of our TS Pico meetings.
Oh,
So I volunteer my assistance.
yep. Yep.
And I have already made my hotel reservation, so I will be there.
Oh, damn. You beat me.
Well, I
will tell you, you should make your hotel reservations soon if you are planning.
Okay.
They've announced the public for the hotel. It tends to go very quickly.
Okay.
And as staff, I already had to make my hotel reservation because I had to get mine in before they opened it to the public and stuff. But the public side of things will go quickly. So get on that soon, I would recommend.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I mean, there are plenty of other hotels around there, but it is really useful, especially if you're going to have a table, basically being in that hotel.
That was going to be my next question. So it's attached, or they're
Yes, the convention center is attached to is it a Renaissance? It's some weird ass R name from Marriott. It's one of the higher end Marriott chains. It has a TV in the mirror in the bathroom.
What?
Which is the first time I've ever seen that in a hotel. That was kind of weird.
Well, it's better than a camera. I mean,
yeah. Well, I'm sure the camera was somewhere
they
else,
have those
but
too. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was really kind of annoying because whenever you turn on the light, it would turn on the TV as well, and it was just kind of weird. But anyway, yes, they're attached. We're still not sure what the parking is going to be like. Last year, immediately after VCF was there, they nuked part of the parking lot in order to build some sort of gaming center in one corner of the parking lot. That should be done, I believe, by the time we're there again. But I'm not sure what the parking is going to look like overall for the hotel. It was a little bit of a problem last year already, although there's a lot of parking on the back side of the convention center. The big problem is from the back side of the convention center, you have to walk a fair ways to get into the convention center. The back side is mainly for loading stuff, is designed more for loading stuff. And you're more designed to go in on the front side of the convention center, which is all on one side, the hotel side as well. So we'll see how that works out. Yeah, it's good to be there. There are other places Schaumburg is not too bad for walking around. Unlike a lot of Chicago, they actually have sidewalks in most of their places, including things that go across, because it's right along I-90. And to get to downtown Schaumburg, you basically have to cross I-90 to get it to some of the restaurants and stuff like that. But that can be done walking as well. I did that a number of times last year. So it is reasonably walkable around that area. And I don't know yet how they have implied it's going to be bigger this year. And like last year, we already had a fairly large amount of space. So we'll see what happens this year, but
okay. All right. So anyway, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna bring things, new and old things. Because
David, are you driving?
Yeah, because
okay.
It's like 10 hours from here or something.
Yeah, it's not too far from Buffalo to Chicago.
Yeah. And so I can bring the things, of course, right? Because I consider part of this, part of attending this is outreach. Getting folks who don't want to come to Zoom meetings or don't even know we exist to learn about us. And then, selfishly, I would love to, hang out with as many of you as possible in person over that weekend. So I'm looking at all of you.
I'd as well volunteer to go along and bring some equipment and stuff. Obviously, I don't have a lot, but
That's awesome. That's exactly like I said, Peyton. I want to meet y'all in person. I want to be able to shake your hand and you know
Well, the big thing for me is, of course, three of us here are from Albuquerque.
Yep.
So I don't know that we could probably talk a little about it on this meeting. Are you three willing to, free to go to this thing?
Well, I can make time. I can't travel by myself anymore because of my epilepsy. Like they give me trouble in airports when I have problems. So I would have to travel with someone. So if you guys are going, I'd want to be on the same flight or something like that.
Right, right. That's kind of why I asked, because I mean, if we're going to get hotel rooms and things like that, we probably need to, do that as a group.
Yeah.
Just so we all know, if I just go and make my own room and then hell with you guys, that's probably not very, not very nice of me. I don't know about Ryan if he's able to.
Oh, to hell with Ryan.
Well, that's true, I guess. Well, he lives closer to you than me.
Oh, he
so,
does. He's going to come over here and beat me up during the call.
That's right.
Give me a minute.
Ryan's leaving right now.
Yeah.
Remember, it's on video, so make sure you turn off the video first before you bash him.
Yeah, and if you're going to drive, maybe we should have a special learn how to drive Zoom with Paul. Learn how to drive cross country with Paul.
I could do learn how to drive in Chicago if you'd like.
Well, the answer to that is don't.
Right.
That's probably the best answer. Yes.
I'm referring to a story that Tim, brings up every once in a while, where Tim and Paul went to Rhode Island. Was it Tim?
Yeah, I think it's Rhode Island.
Yeah, and it was a bit of a drive, right? I mean, 10 hours or something.
Yeah, so I remember. So he lived in Indianapolis. He came on Highway 70 to Dayton, picked me up in his minivan, and away we went. And I remember, him driving initially. Then I took over for a bit. And what surprised me was he had bench seats. So it's an old van, right, with bench seats in the back. So he just laid down the bench seat behind me to sleep for a while. And then he had a little cooler there. So he opens the cooler, whips out his bread, his bologna, his mayonnaise, makes a sandwich. It's like, I was waiting for him to, whip out something as a porta potty or something, but we did stop for that. But coming back, we go through New Jersey, we get into Pennsylvania. He calls his wife Pennsylvania, and apparently her mother had some sort of health issue. She lived in New Jersey, so he had to drive all the way back to Indianapolis, pick up his family, and turn around and drive all the way back to New Jersey without sleeping. So he was like, okay, I got to get there fast. So leaving Pennsylvania, he would kind of poured the coal on a bit. And it was just pouring down rain. It was like 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and it was late. Yeah, it was a whole lot of fun.
Okay, maybe you don't have to do that. maybe,
right,
maybe.
Paul? I see you there.
Yep, basically that's it. Actually,
the good news
my wife's
for
family
anyone
passed away that night.
Oh.
So the good news for
go ahead, Mowgli.
The good news for anyone arriving from the west side is that Schaumburg is like on the west side. You don't have to go near Chicago technically to get there.
Oh, okay.
Those of us coming from the east side will have to work our way either through or around Chicago to get there.
Okay.
So, hey, that brings up a good point. Is there a better airport to go to than probably O'Hare? Because that's probably going to be a...
O'Hare is mostly there.
Okay.
If you go to Midway, you have to work your way across the entirety of Chicago.
Yeah,
O'Hare
O'Hare's
is
gonna be
northwest
closer.
side of Chicago.
Okay, so it'd be better to go to O'Hare then.
Yeah.
I did check, and there is a train and bus that'll take you from Midway to Schaumburg. Southwest out of Oakland only goes to Midway, does not go to O'Hare. I've done it before, so
Yeah, Southwest only goes to Midway. United American pretty much only go to O'Hare. I'm not sure where Delta ends up in that. I forget if I've actually seen Delta aircraft at O'Hare or not. Delta
They
might
used to
split
be
the
Midway,
difference.
but they might have changed to O'Hare. So many of these airlines have merged and moved around. They might actually be either at this point.
Yeah.
I haven't
Um,
flown them in a long time. So
yeah. So Chicago does have fairly good rail transport. I do not know off the top of my head which line Schaumburg is on, but you probably could get a Metra out of downtown if you really wanted to do it with rail. Um, but O'Hare is pretty close to Schaumburg, and if you were, going to take a taxi, an Uber, or anything like that, I highly recommend O'Hare.
Mhm. Yeah, it'd probably be like an Uber.
Yeah.
I'm
The
thinking.
MARTA and train routes are, they're online. That information's available.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
I would just rather not take public transportation if we're bringing stuff.
Yep.
Just because it's, it
Hard
could
to carry.
disappear. Oh, hell yeah, I could. It's hard to carry, and plus it would probably, maybe easier to disappear.
We, in another organization I was in, we had meetings annually and quarterly, and some folks FedEx their luggage
Yeah,
direct to the hotel.
true.
we can just FedEx Adam.
That sounds like a good idea.
Just put a couple holes in the box and we're good.
It's better than driving with Paul. So
Sounds
Well,
like something I
it'll
was going to.
it'll be in September too, so it won't be that cold.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Be right in the middle of fall. Yeah. Okay. So like I said, I'm gonna go make my reservation soon, probably this weekend. Um I would love to see each and every one of you, but if you can't make it, that's cool. I would love to see as many of you as possible. Let's put it that way. Right, Adam, I don't know if you can fit a ZX81 into a carry-on.
yeah, I don't know either.
What's your thoughts on like showing up? You thinking you're gonna do like the day before? I didn't know if Mowgli had a thought on, setting up and stuff and
Yeah,
how that
what's
works.
the story there, Mowgli? What's a good plan?
Okay, so we'll probably start with setup possibly on Thursday, definitely on Friday. There will be people, including me, there pretty much all day Friday because we have to set up the hotel tables. Um, they do a weird mix. Some of the tables are from the hotel. We get a certain number as part of the convention. The rest of them have to be rented from a company, and those show up later. Jason and Mike did figure out very quickly that it was way cheaper to buy their own tablecloths than it was to attempt to rent tablecloths from anybody. So one of the things that we get to do, aside from arranging the room, which Mike, I think, usually does the table maps for the room, we have to actually physically put all the tables out. We have to physically put all the tablecloths on the tables and effectively set up everything. Electric is done by another company, so that we don't have to do. So we'll at least be there all day Friday. We probably will be there some of the time on Thursday. We'll probably also be loading the truck on Thursday with all the stuff that Jason and Mike bring from their warehouse to facilitate things. So Friday, actually, yeah, no, we will be there on Thursday because then Friday is also vendor setup day. So anybody who has a table, you'll probably get a note. They'll get around to doing the table thing when they have the table maps. Hopefully it'll happen close a little earlier than it did last year, where they waited until like a month and a half before to do the table stuff because they underestimated how many people wanted tables. Anyway, so
How many people
setup is
typically attend this?
so it was hard to calculate last year. The year before, they printed 1,500 badges. We ran out of those by Saturday, by Saturday afternoon, and they were basically just giving up at that point, trying to figure out how many people showed up. Last year there was a smaller YouTuber contingent, and there are a number of people who, if YouTube people are there, will show up just to see the YouTube people. So last year's might have been a little bit smaller in that regard, but I would say, it was probably still at least around 1,500 people showed up over the weekend. And so we'll see. But Thursday, Friday are generally setup days. I am getting there on Tuesday, so I'll be there starting Tuesday night. But I also do some work with the local railway museum in Chicago, and I do that on Wednesdays. So that's why I usually get there that early. And then like by Friday night, all the setup stuff is done and everything like that. And then Saturday and Sunday is the convention. Saturday afternoon, we start shutting down. We do have to take down the convention tables and stuff them back on their carts.
You mean Sunday?
But the company that rents us the other tables comes by and they handle those.
I just want to make it's a 2-day event, right? Not so you take things down on Sunday.
Yeah, it's a 2-day event,
Okay.
but in general, we need to have the room cleared, I think, by midnight on Sunday to comply with the contract. So, and like there's somebody on site from the convention center who comes in Sunday night to basically check us out and make sure that like the room is cleared, and we sweep the room also because there's a charge if you leave a bunch of trash behind. So we generally also sweep the room and do all of that and clear the room. And I think last year we got done with that about 11 p.m. on Sunday.
Okay. Okay.
So it is essentially an all volunteer event. And a number of the regulars and people who live in Chicago come by on Thursday and Friday to help set up. So it's not just like the four of us that are often involved in running parts of the convention. But still, if you're there earlier, we would love to have you come by and help us do stuff.
Cool. All right. So if you plan on getting there earlier. All right, cool.
I guess one part that should be discussed between people who are bringing things is just bring talk amongst each other so you don't bring like 3 of the same thing or what have you. If you're sharing tables and stuff.
Maybe we can.
Should be a list of something maybe that we could create that, hey, I'm going to bring this, I'm going to bring that. So yeah, we can kind of save on. I mean, if you're driving there, then you can bring all kinds of shit because whatever you can fit in your vehicle, right? But those of us, like I said, I don't know how far west anybody else is here. I think we're kind of, I don't know if anybody's from Arizona or California. I don't think so.
Tim's in California.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So I don't count San Francisco. Anyway, at least it's not LA, right? I mean, you have your house still. Jeez.
Yes.
Anyway, because yeah, I mean, if we're definitely gonna fly. I'm not gonna drive up to Chicago from here, but I mean, maybe in my younger years that would have been appealing, but my older age now, I'm like, F that. As much as I hate airports, I'd still rather do that than drive. But the other thing is, I don't know. I know I have a lot of stuff, but yeah, it'd be nice to have a list. And I think at least for Adam and Ryan and myself, I think we'd probably get there Friday, right? Because we want to set up.
Yeah,
So
probably.
I would think we would get there or try to get there, sometime earlier in the afternoon. So we can get there and help set up or whatever, and then maybe grab dinner because I think Saturday and Sunday
Well,
won't.
part of what you'll need to do on Friday also is if you have a table, you'll need to set up your table.
Right, that's what I
'Cause
mean. But I mean, after that's
yeah.
done, I think Friday is probably the best time for any kind of like dinner socialization. I mean, Saturday maybe, Sunday definitely not. It sounds like because everybody's going to be turned down, so there won't be time for that. I mean, this ain't my first rodeo doing these kind of things either, but and then maybe for us three from New Mexico, we might leave like on Monday. I hate to rush to the airport and everything, and if we can, be more casual about leaving, then so we'll get there get there Friday, sorry, on the 12th, and leave on the 15th sometime.
Something like that could
Yeah.
work. Ryan hasn't said
So
anything, so I wonder.
yeah, I don't know.
What was the date again?
September. We're looking at the 12th through the 15th for us.
Yeah, I'll have to see if. Well, I guess given that, I know I guess see if the family wants to do some sort of thing, but I'm guessing probably not given the date. So
there are things to do in Chicago. I've been there, for non-computing.
Well, it would
activities.
be school.
That's true. The start of the school year. Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we'll have to.
Everybody here today is on the groups.io list, so we can take it up there in terms of planning and coordinating. What to bring and stuff. We'll start a thread for it.
Yeah, we need to decide what kind of things we want to display. I mean, I assumed obviously we'd want to put a TS Pico and some of that newer stuff out there, but maybe also try to show a stock display of what it might have looked like, back in the day.
Yes, here's what
That's
it
a
looks
really
like.
good idea, like to bring a contemporary from that time, like a tape recorder, like a shoebox tape recorder, like a 40-year-old. It doesn't have to work. I mean,
I've got a working one with
there you
my
go.
unit.
You've just raised your hand.
Yep. Like I said, I'm offering to bring what I've got.
David,
Well, I mean,
just display David. Fair enough.
Yeah, I think somebody's here's got to have a 2020 cassette recorder. That would probably be nice. Yeah, that would probably be nice to. Not that we'd use it. Go ahead.
I have a 2020 and it does work.
Your Zoom.
It's doing my. Hold on, let me turn off my.
Hold it closer to you.
You
turn off.
You allegedly have a
blur your background thing or the background.
Yeah, David has a 2020, so he's pretty close
and it
there.
works.
Yeah, so that's good.
David, I hesitate to ask. Do you have a old school CRT or television?
I do. I have a old school television in this corner over here. I also
you're pointing off into space.
Yeah, I know. It literally into space. I have an old school TV sort of CRT. I've also got a couple of Commodore monitors. And
for composite.
For composite or
that'd be good.
Video.
Right. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to bring any CRTs. I'll tell you that much.
No, I can bring the CRTs. I'm not that far away, so for
me,
yeah, it's pretty easy to do.
That's kind of another reason why like I said, we need to get this list going on groups.
I'm far enough to stay at the hotel because I'm not driving 6 hours a day, but I'm still close enough that it's easy for me to haul a bunch of stuff. So,
and the reason I ask about the TVs especially is because I don't remember who asked this recently, but somebody asked, well, why did why did Timex produce a computer with such bad video, right? And part of my answer was, well, because TVs were crap and you couldn't tell. And so I think it'd be amusing to be able to have, a TV and a composite monitor and then an LCD all right next to each other, so you could see, how it was not completely awful. I do remember it was not great, but it was not completely awful on a TV. Back then, you could work with it. You could use the controls on the TV to, adjust that out. Whereas that's a lot harder with an LCD monitor these days.
You guys must have had some really shitty TV. I
So
mean,
David,
I don't remember it being that bad, and I certainly spent hours and hours and hours on it. But I had a little Monkey Ward's. It actually had composite on it that my parents got me, so that maybe it was a better TV than what a lot of people were
Well, no,
using.
it wasn't the TV that was the problem, Carl. It was the quality of video signal.
Well,
And
yeah, but I've hooked all my Timexes up to it, and I programmed all that, my whole diagnostic cartridge assembly
yeah,
language on it, and I mean that TV it's like a little 13 inch. It's not really that big either, and maybe that's what made it better. Maybe
well,
if people are hooking it up to like big 19-inch console TVs or
well,
20.
the thing with the TV was, those composite monitors was you had some contrast controls and some brightness controls, and you could adjust it to sort of minimize, the banding and other kind of weird artifacts
Right,
in
right.
the 2068 video. Whereas now, an LCD, even with a composite input, it's going to reproduce all that stuff in high def for you.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to what Tim Swenson said a little while ago. I remember when I would use my C64 back in like 84, I would change, like, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the default color scheme in BASIC, but it's like blue.
The blue.
Yeah, and I used to change it to be black, kind of like Tim said, because it just was easier on the eyes, for me anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really low contrast. Yeah, I saw one of those pictures of that default screen the other day. I was like, holy crap, that's really low contrast.
The cocoa was worse with the green. Just unbelievable. I couldn't. It was like eye strain just looking at it.
Yeah, yeah, it was brutal. Okay, so those are the two things. We'll talk more about the VCF thing and more about contributing to ZXZine over the next couple months, I suppose. And I will keep pulling on your heartstrings.
So who else has I put it on my background here, but I found this in the box the other day, so I took a picture of it with David Anderson's keyboards on the bottom. One
Oh,
of
is
the
that what that
keyboards
is?
that he made.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of yours, and 'cause I think I got two of them. Well, I know I got two of them because there's two of them in the box. But I forgot that I had gotten this thing. It's a Suntronics, right? It's a Suntronics keyboard that
Yeah.
they offered for the 1000, and actually I think there's a I have pictures of it, but I didn't put it on the background. But it's probably one of the only ZX81s I have that actually has the two RAM chips in there,
Oh,
the
wow.
the 2114s or whatever the hell they are, the 1Ks. So it's got to be a British, but I think it might be a USA one. Doesn't say USA on the motherboard, but
The
I think the
position of
modulator's VHF, I think, or maybe not. Because I think the modulator for VHF, am I not wrong, is on the top, kind of on the top corner of the ZX81 or the TS1000.
VHF is channels, the low channels 3 and 4 and stuff.
Right.
I thought
I
it was
can't
2
remember.
and 3.
It is 2 and 3, but I'm
And
just
3.
saying where the physical jack is on the modulator, because they had to make the case modifications, right? Because the VHF modulator, it's on the other side than the UHF modulators. The UHF modulators was on the, if you remember the side of a ZX81, you have the TV output, but it can be in two different places. It can be kind of up by the edge, by the corner, or it can be closer to like the ear jack,
Yep. I
right?
think the further out is the VHF,
Okay.
and the closer is the UHF. Although, but Carl, UHF modulators, not the computers, but channel like 33-ish UHF modulators were sold that you could retrofit to
Right.
your 81.
Right. So I mean, this one actually has two cutouts on
Yeah.
for the whichever one your RF jack is for, and one of them's blanked off with a piece of plastic. And this one, I just noticed it's closer to the ear jack. So
Oh.
I can't remember that it, being that it has the 2 RAM chips, so it's a 1K unit. I'm thinking it's probably a British. It's a UHF one because we never should have gotten any of those here.
Right.
Even the Spectrum ones. I mean, the Sinclair ZX81s, right? They should have had 2K for the US. Is that
No,
right?
no, the Sinclairs only had 1K.
Okay.
Yeah, the
All
ZXA
right.
ones only had 1K.
Yeah.
Okay. So only the TS1000s that actually had the 2K.
Yes,
that's
okay.
correct.
All 2K.
All 2K. That's right. All 2K.
That was a whopping.
And
2K.
Yeah, I played a flight simulator in that 2K.
In 2K?
wow, impressive.
They had the so that was what actually got me to buy the computer was I saw the flight simulator and was like, oh my God, I can play a flight simulator on this thing for like $100 plus, I don't know, maybe it was $20 for the software or something. It's like, oh, that's cool.
But doesn't that require the 16K upgrade, or is it?
Well, this had to be something else. It wasn't the Scion one. It had to be another one.
Yeah, no, this was a actual I think it was Timex Sinclair branded tape. And there was no landing or takeoff. You start in midair and you just fly around for as long as you feel like it, and you can crash. And that was part of the fun, of course, was crashing. But other than that, it was like, relatively boring, except it was kind of cool. And they did it in 2K. That was like amazing at the time.
Interesting.
Huge blocks.
Well, I know the Scion one, the Scion flight simulator, well, you started in midair. You didn't take off on that one. I mean, you could. If you landed, I think you could take off. But you started flying.
Yeah.
Right. You were already in the air, and then you could land. And I think you could take off too once you had landed successfully and didn't crash.
Okay, yeah, so the one that I played, I'm pretty sure came in a Timex Sinclair wrapped, was it black and red or something for
yeah. That's
it came in one of those cassettes.
It was probably was though that Scion version.
It might have been a Scion version, but the one that I played, you could not land or take off. It was basically you were just flying around in midair.
Mm. Well, plus the Scion one from Timex needed 16K. It was the program itself is like 13K the size of it. So
all right, then I'm misremembering, and it was a 16K thing.
It's either that or you had to bring 14K of imagination.
And in either case, there was a flight simulator that was awesome to play on that system, the Timex 1000.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was like the first like software package that I bought for my Timex Sinclair 1000 when I got it. That was like kind of my whole point of getting it. And I saved up my the money from delivering newspapers to buy that thing. So that actually took a fair bit of time to do that. A month.
Well, if I do show up at BCF, whatever, then I'll certainly bring the cartridge thing, the TS1510, and of course, Flight Simulator is one of the cartridges they made, and I will pull it up and see if it brings back memories.
That would be
because
cool.
Yeah, you're right, because the top half of the screen is kind of like what you're seeing out the window, but it's really nothing. And in the bottom half, you have the gauges and the rudder and the speed and all that stuff was down there.
Yeah.
But anyway, at least we won't have to wait 6 minutes for it to load and then tell you that it had an error.
Yes, that was annoying.
Because the 13K program, holy crap, yeah, that's a long program.
Yeah. Carl, have you used that keyboard?
I haven't used it. I mean, I typed on it a little bit. It seems pretty good.
Okay.
But like I said, it does have that ZX81 motherboard in there, and somebody's modded some things on it, obviously. But it was in really good shape. I think I got it on eBay at some point in time, but I just was like going through stuff and was like, hey, I got one of these things. I know somebody at the Albuquerque thing, I think, had some similar one, right, Adam?
Yeah. I showed a picture of a guy holding one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was the
I meant to tell
Centronics
him
one
today to join this meeting. Oh well, forgot.
I don't know if it was the Centronics one, but I mean there were several different ones back then. But they're all trying to do. It's kind of nice. It's a plastic thing. It's all silverized inside, right? Probably for RF.
Oh, with the paint?
Yeah, it's silver inside. I mean, I've got pictures of it, but I just didn't put it on the background. But maybe I'll throw it up on our group's IO here. But and then I kind of wanted to compare it down to um, David's keyboard because it's very similar, right? Except for the shift keys on the side, because like you said, yours are a little bit lower.
Yeah.
They're not in line with that. So I was thinking, wonder if it would fit in there. No, it won't because of those keys.
Right. No,
But
that's because of the weird layout of that space in
right,
the 2068. Yeah.
right.
All
Hey,
those
Mike.
touch typists with their Timex Sinclairs will be confused now.
Yeah, I always kind of wanted one of those things because I never had one when I was a kid using those things, and they weren't particularly expensive, but they weren't exactly cheap either, right? Especially when you're, like you said, doing newspaper routes and whatever other things kids are doing to try and make money.
Well, they cost as much as the computer, right? I mean, literally.
I
Yeah,
think it was
literally.
about $80. I
Yeah,
think it was about 70, $80
it
for
was.
that keyboard. And it certainly cost me more than that. I don't think I paid 70 or $80 for it. I probably spent somewhere like 150 for it, but
And
or somewhere in that range.
right, minimum wage was terrible
270,
back then.
235
Yeah,
an
something like that
hour.
would take forever to save up.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's
Minimum wage was what the neighbor would pay you to mow the lawn.
I remember like 83 minimum wage, like 315.
Yeah. So it, and if you're 13, 14, 15 years old, you can't work full time. You're theoretically still in school.
We were limited to 20 hours max a week.
Yeah, exactly.
I worked 2 years of high school doing the 20 hours maximum.
And $1 a dime an hour.
And the other thing that's really cool about that Suntronics kit, those keys, those are, they're not stickers, right? They actually went through that's probably why it costs a little bit more because they're like silk screened on there or something. They're not stickers, right, that go onto those keys. So maybe I'll take some closer up pictures for Groups IO for that thing because it's,
do that.
That's a really nice keyboard that they made for that, the Suntronics.
I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to do it anyway. You should make a video with Adam.
Okay, that's true. We got to do
that'd be fun.
We got to do the cartridge ones. Hey, I could put a Spectrum inside of it. There we go. We can have a Spectrum.
Yeah. You'd have to split the keyboard cable, sort of, make a little, I don't know, extension because the Spectrum is spaced apart.
Yeah, they're right.
But yeah.
Well, this keyboard, I don't know, it has like little clips that go onto some flex PCBs. So they're real close together. But yeah, I mean, you could probably solder something on there. I didn't really look too close at that, but anyway, it's kind of a cool case that nobody, I think that was.
How does it open up? Does it have a hinge or something, or you have to unscrew the whole thing?
No, it's just two halves. Got a bottom half and then the top half. And in fact, I don't know where the screws are because there's no screws in it. So it kind of just holds itself together right now. But the keyboard, I mean, the motherboard has screws that screw down to it, but the case doesn't have the screws that hold it together, which wouldn't be hard to find. Some screws that will do that. But what?
Probably metric.
Oh, I don't think so. Plus, it's all plastic, so there's probably quarter 20s that are going there. Something really common. But yeah, I was like kind of giddy about when I saw that. I was like, oh, there it is. I totally had forgotten I bought that. So it was kind of nice to, I'm kind of trying to consolidate all my Timex stuff into fewer boxes because it's all over the freaking place right now. Because I was doing cartridge builds. That's kind of another thing I wanted to mention is, some of you, I know Kevin, I don't think he's on here, but I know he's already paid me for some of this stuff, and I've had some time this week to actually build some of those up, and I think Rich J was another one, and so I've got the new ones. Well, I put them in the box. They're not the built ones are already put away, but the new ones, the 512K ones with the display on there. I've got like 4 or 5 of those built up. And I know he wanted one of those. So, if you're interested, I know Joe sent me an email that he wanted to get some blank ones. You sure you want them blank? Because I mean, the connector kind of sticks up, and so I mean, if you're gonna make a case for it, you might just want a built one.
No,
So
I
you,
want it blank for the first part, and then I'll populate it myself because I have plenty of components.
okay, okay. Because
Yeah.
I mean, I use a certain connector, but maybe you have a different one for the cartridge because that's a 36 pin, card edge connector. But the ones I bought, they're actual 36, so they actually have the closed ends, right?
Right.
So the cartridge actually centers itself in there, as opposed to where I had to cut up the ones for the edge card connector because those need to be open on the ends, right? Because
Right.
Timex
But
doesn't.
Carl, isn't there a keyway on the?
There is a keyway, but I mean,
Hmm.
I just bought the 36 pin
Yeah,
connectors.
yeah.
So I didn't have to chop up I bought a bunch of 120 pin ones, the long ones
Yep.
from Jamico because they were on clearance for, I don't know, maybe $1 a piece. So I bought, I don't know, 20, 25 of them. And I've been using those to cut up for the edge card connector for the computer, right? Because you got to cut them up anyway because they got to be open ended on the
Right.
ends. And so I just use those for the interface to plug into the computer. But the ones for the cartridge are, they're specific 36 pins for the cartridge. So, and they stick up quite a ways. And that's just kind of was thinking, Joe, if you.
Hey, Carl, can you just
Hey,
pause for 1 second?
yeah,
I
'cause
think Michael
Mike's.
has a question.
Oh,
We're gonna
Well,
cut you off, Carl.
I was going to say on the Centronics keyboard case, I got one like I guess it's an 85 or something. I don't know if I bought it directly from Centronics or some other outfit, but I got it. And what I did, I put a light on the front of it on the top, and then on one of the Sync magazines, they show you a video output using a transistor, a resistor, and I think a capacitor. And I didn't want to use my original Timex Sinclair 1000, so I bought one off eBay and I stuck it in it.
Hmm.
And what I also did, I had this TV set. I used to fix TVs, and I had this 12-inch TV set, and the tuner was all screwed up. So I cut the tuner out and hooked it directly to the composite right on it, and there was a clear picture.
Mike, maybe you said you used to fix TV sets. Maybe you can uh, answer Adam's question about why someone would want to put a UHF modulator into why they'd want to replace the VHF modulator with a UHF modulator. And was there something I don't recall, but I feel like that there was something about TVs at the time, like maybe if you lived in an area where one of those channels was used by a station, but it would be easier to get it on like channel 33.
well, I
Oh,
think
well, you
not
would.
to not to step on you there, Michael, but I think UHF was clear. It's UHF is ultra high frequency, so it's even higher frequency than VHF, obviously, and I think it just those UHF channels produced a clearer picture.
It did, but
Oh,
what like I said, the tuner was no good, and I didn't have a UHF on it. So what I did, I just eliminate the tuner, and where the wire came from the video out, I hook a coaxial, and I put an RCA plug on the back of the TV set and hook it directly to and I put an RCA jack on the back of this case, and that's what I was using.
just
Then years later, maybe a couple of years ago, I tried to use it, and I got an LCD TV set, so I couldn't use that. So then I got this other circuit. It's called ZXVID, I think it was
mhm.
another type of board, and you could use a regular what do you call it, a yellow wire from the video from here to the LCD TV screen, and I had a clear picture that way.
Hmm. Mike, what do you use the 1000 for? What do you do on that?
Well, the 1000 stopped working, but I did get a 1500,
Okay.
and actually I got three of them. Each motherboard is slightly different. one modular had the coils in it, and the other one had just IC something, and I ripped all that out, and I put a ZXVID on it, and I hook it directly to the LCD TV, and it works. And I replaced the keyboard on it because some of the buttons wasn't working. I bought one of those Mingrain switches from Retro Piece, Sell My Retro in England,
Yeah.
and I put that on. And then later on, I got the Z-Expand. Actually, I have three of them. I got two Z-Expands with the turbo board and a Z-Expand Plus. And I was talking to Charlie, Charlie Brunson, who designed the board. And when I'm talking to him, I found out that his sister-in-law lives in Belmar.
Near you.
Yeah, close to me. So
what a small. So what do you use the what do you use the 15? What do you do on the 1500s?
once in a while I play around with it. I'm not into programming. I
Okay.
mean, I tried one time to get the book on machine code, and I couldn't figure it out. So, but once in a while, when I used to do it, I used to make my own programs up, or I'd go just get Zinc magazine, and you type in everything.
Mm-hmm.
And one time I even got I got the binder from Bruce Taylor, How to Build Your Robot.
Yeah.
And I made a wooden platform. It was just a platform that will move around. And he had the what do you call it? Computer consultants development board. You put it on the back of it. It had the expansion, and I got one of them on it and everything. And I try to put the program in, and you got this long list, and I type it all in, and I save it on the tape, and then when I want to reload it, forget it. So then I gave up on it, and then finally I moved here, so it's down the basement somewhere. The 1500 I fool around with a little bit. The 2068 I bought a new one. I think it was 2 years ago I got it. I fool around that once in a while. I got the HDMI board that you had.
Right.
And I had that on it. And then this one, I bought it on eBay. Somebody's father passed away, and he had like 3 or 4 of them. And when I got it, it looks like a brand new unit. It's in a plastic bag, and it works. And then last year I got the Pico, which I haven't done anything with yet, and I got the Pico Vito board I just got from you.
Yeah.
But I haven't fooled around with it yet. I'm still fooling around with trying to learn how to laser a tumbler on a 3D printer. So and all of my other hobbies. So
right.
All right, I'll let you go. Continue. I just want to give you some input.
Thanks, Mike.
Well, I know 2 things for Adam. He was asking him how many revisions. I know there's 2 at least. Michael said 3, and there may be another one, but there was the original
6.
one. Well, there was the original one that had 8 DRAM chips on it, right? It had 8 16K DRAM chips, the 16K by ones, right? Then there was a later revision, and I don't think Timex did this. I think this was more in Portugal, right? Timex in Portugal. They updated it, and they put like the by 4 chips in there, like this 2068 has. So it only has 2 DRAM chips, and I think that was more of a cost reduction. They were looking at cost reducing it. And then maybe Michael was mentioning that maybe the earlier 1500s had a modulator, right? Just like the 1000s did. And then maybe later they kind of went to a discrete modulator like the 2068 has, where the chip, the LM, I don't know, 1882 or whatever the hell chip that they used in there.
The
Well,
the 1500 is almost all Portugal, basically. When Timex started with their idea of a cost reduced 1000, it was going to look like that thing that you built, Carl.
Right.
And that's, you know, the museum in Portugal has a thing that looks like that. Portugal came up with the idea of, you know, let's put it in a different case. Let's give it a better keyboard, better. And you know, there was some internal changes. There's at least, you know, two official versions, and that's like you said, the 8 RAM chips, and then the second one, which only has 2 RAM chips. There's also the other variation that I've seen is some of them replace a buffer chip with resistors, and because of the way the buffer's laid out, you can just put the resistors in the same spot and sort of run them at an angle. I know that there are others, but the others that I'm aware of might be, you know, development prototype versions, because I've seen 6 different versions of that board. And
well, you know, like you said, David, the earlier ones would had the ULA, right? Because they were just going to basically be in the 1000s case.
Yeah.
Just be silver versions of it, like
That's
I
right.
made.
Yes, that is one of the variations is the 40 pin ULA versus
Yeah, had the
smaller.
ULA.
Yeah.
And then at some point they went and just said, hell with it, we're going to make an SCLD for it, which I think they added some extra stuff in there, which never really got utilized.
Well,
Maybe
there's
extra video modes and bank
the
switching.
the replacement of the switch, you know, the channel
Yes.
2-3 switch. That's
Right.
part of the
Right, where you hold down the 3 button, I think, and it forces it onto 3.
Yep.
That's true. There's no channel switch. That's all in the ULA. But I think there's other stuff in there too, I think. But like I said, it never really got utilized. I think they were looking at bank switching on that too, and maybe even high res video modes, right? Kind of like the 2068, because obviously those 2 chips were designed around the same time.
Yeah.
So they probably were kind of, you know, robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? To kind of share technology amongst the chips there, but you know, so it's unfortunate that the 1500 really, kind of fell on its face. But I think there's some extra nuggets in the 1500s SCLD that never really got exploited. So anyway,
yeah. It's a fun little machine, and yeah.
I just was glancing through. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just glancing through that book that you linked us to, the microcomputer controlled robot, and there's like actual pictures of Timex 1000s and things in there.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. This, if you've never looked at this book, and actually there's a website about home built robots of that period, with lots and lots of photos. Like, you know, whoever built the website went out and managed, you know, got the photos of this robot that were, I think, in Sync magazine or something, and then got some other photos and diagrams. Anyway, yeah, this Bruce Taylor book is, if you want to build a robot based on the ZX81, this is your tool. This is, you know, this is the thing.
So that was like the brains of the robot, like it was part of the robot, or you just like made it go forward and backward, or what?
I think it would be generous to call that brains. Hang on, Mike, I'm gonna spotlight you.
Well, with the 16K upgrade, come on. Oh, who has that? Oh, cool.
Yeah, hold that
Michael.
up for a second. Very nice. Is that so? So the deal here is that he had a contract with some publishing company to publish that, and then, you know, the floor fell out on Timex stuff, and he got his rights back and put it out. So that's cool. I didn't know that he printed a little binder for it too.
Yeah, I was advertised on Zinc magazine one time, and I bought it. And what he originally did, I think Tad Books was supposed to publish it, and they went out of business or something. So he actually made it, and it's all original printing was done with a TS-2068 and with a printer, and then eventually photocopy everything. It gives you all It has all the codes and everything.
Yeah, and the schematics and everything. Yeah, let me just spotlight you, Mike. So you said you think he wrote this on the 2068 and
Wait a minute, I'll find out.
okay.
Well, the other thing too, Adam, is you have to realize that the physical size, right, of the ZX81 and the 1000 was a really advantageous to those kind of things, right?
Oh,
I
sure.
mean,
Yeah.
you could certainly use a Commodore 64. You could have used an Atari 800, but how big are those compared to
Right.
1000?
And heavy, like in the
Yeah,
800s case.
exactly.
Gosh.
So that's why a lot of people were like, "Hey, this is a tiny little computer." It's almost like an Arduino of the day, if you kind of
So
think
can
about
you
it
run it
that
on
way.
batteries? Like, do people like
Sure.
an act? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
you just
Yeah,
need.
car batteries.
He printed it on a 2068.
I'll be darned.
Here's a picture of what he had.
His workstation.
Oh, wow.
I'll be darned. That's a Gorilla printer. Looks like.
Hey man, I remember all the ads in the back of the magazines back
The
then
Gorilla
for Gorilla
Banana?
printers. Yep.
All right. And so for the sake of folks who have never seen this robot, here is one presumes Bruce Taylor, and the robot is called Henry. I think. Cool, there we go. Yeah, there he is reading Robotics Age. Again, Henry is serving him some sort of beverage. And Adam, and I don't know if you guys can make this out, but
the back
of the 16K RAM pack is right there under the dome.
Is it? Is that what that is?
That's what that white printing is on that black box.
It's the FCC label.
Yeah, and then the big circuit board, I think, is the
You guys have good eyes. I mean,
is the interface. Oh, apparently it could read comic strips. Who knew? And it could get into your refrigerator. That sounds dangerous.
it's better than the dog getting in the fridge.
But yeah, there's this website that's full of. This is Tumblr, but there's a website that's full of these pictures. Yeah, I'm wondering if Bruce is still around. We'll have to see if we can find him and get him to come and talk to us about his crazy.
But I just wanted to mention that, Adam, because I mean, like I said, the physical size of that computer is so tiny. Like I said, it's almost like the Arduino or the Raspberry Pi of its day, if you kind of think of it that way. Yeah, it had shitty I/O and shitty memory decoding, but you could fix all that with an expansion board.
Okay. Yeah, I'm surprised at how large the robot is. I was picturing a little tiny something. I don't know what else, but nothing huge like that.
They were all. Oh, hold on a sec, Mike. I'm gonna. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, that's that computer continuum expansion board.
And I got the schematic for that too.
Yeah, and
he bought it.
We talked a little bit about computer continuum. I think on the groups.io list, maybe Eric Reader, who did that thing. He's still around. He is a very unique individual.
What does that mean?
Okay, let me see if I can remember.
Or maybe we shouldn't talk about it here.
Well, no, he's just
He had some artwork, I think you said at one point.
He's done all sorts of things. He built a crazy looking guitar, various musical instruments. All right, I'm just gonna go to trying to find.
Is he still in the Bay Area?
Eric Reiter, yes.
Because he was at that Continuum was out of San Francisco.
Yeah. Oh shoot,
I remember the address.
Email address, or I thought I had his website available. Let's see. I'll just search Google for it, and
I think we've all had those certain unique individuals pass through all of our lives at some point in time. They're not your normal, they're not your normal chicken. They're
I think if you put this in the gallery mode, you'll find several individuals here, maybe all of us. Like,
well,
you think?
I kind of think most of us here are fairly normal, quote unquote. But I mean, there's some folks that are just, yeah, they're really special. Not in a
You may have
bad
a
way.
slightly skewed view of what normal is.
Well, yeah, I mean, normal to me, I guess. So, we're all kinds of birds of a feather here, but yeah.
Well, I read his bio, his self-written bio, and he went to college and did some stuff, but I don't recall that he finished college. Having said that, I've just come across a web page. I'm not even going to try to represent this. I'm just going to show you. And then, yeah, as Adam's saying, we should wrap this up. So, he has spent the last few years, last decade or so, examining quantum mechanics. Frankly, I would not put myself forward as a person who has the depth of knowledge to do that. But he's done a bunch of reading, is my understanding. I'll see if I can.
Well,
I'll see if I can invite Eric.
he is from San Francisco, so there's a lot of unique individuals that came from there.
Yeah, exactly. San Francisco. There you go.
Like Steve Jobs.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh, thank you, Mike. That'll be a good. So, Mike, which board is this? That's an 8 RAM chip board, and
Yeah,
it's
and
got.
it actually doesn't have a modulator. That has a chip in there.
No, that's the modulator. That's just the top taken out.
Well, but it has a chip in there. It's not just an analog modulator.
Oh,
It's
right,
kinda
right. It's not an
similar,
Aztec.
yeah.
Yep.
Right.
It's got an. I think that's a
I
1370.
think it's an 1889 chip in there, LM1889. I think that's what the
No, the
2068
black and white
uses.
modulator is a Motorola part. It's a 1372 or something. Or it could. I see a 7. Well, so this has the buffer chips, those two long skinny chips between the ROM and the Z80. And on some other models, at least that one buffer up next to the ROM there is replaced with resistors. That's an 8 chip, but it's got a different modulator. Oh no, that's that board, right?
He's got a mod in it,
That
yeah.
he replaced it with, yeah.
Composite mod.
Okay. Yeah.
And I know I've put some pictures up on, the groups IO because I got the Serenzi's 1500s, which is like a late version of the 1500s, like from 86. And it's the 2 chip version. And you might be right. There might be resistors instead of the buffer chips in that one, because I know they. But that was all part of how the video is generated in that thing. That's a whole nother topic. Anyway.
Okay. I gotta figure out. I don't remember how to turn off this stupid share. So we'll just live with Mike's beautiful background. Okay.
There you go.
So anyway, it is now 4:00. Our next meeting is Monday, February 3rd at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Maybe we'll have Eric. Maybe we'll have Bruce.
How's the weather, David, up there? I heard you guys are going to get a bad one.
Well, we were talking about that before you joined, Carl. It's what they call lake effect snow. It's coming in off the lake. And there is this huge band that goes from south of the city, but right over the stadium, up towards, it aims at Rochester, basically, which is 60 miles east of me. And it's so focused that area, South Buffalo, Hamburg, Orchard Park, etc., they're going to get like 10 inches of snow. Here in Buffalo, nothing.
Oh, okay.
Like I got a dusting from last night, literally a dusting, and we'll get maybe a small dusting.
Well, that's good.
What happens sometimes is that band will set up, and then it moves during the day. It moves north and it crosses the city, and then it hits above us. It hits up in Niagara County, and then as the day ends, it moves back down. So we get it twice. But not today, not this time. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, I just saw that it was going to hit, Buffalo area, and I was like I thought of you. I don't know if you live in Buffalo, but I know you're right
I
around
do.
there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I live right north of Buffalo. I've said this to a bunch of folks. Do you guys remember Gladstone Electronics?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so Gladstone was a place. They were originally, they're from Toronto. I mean, that's where the original store was, and then they set up a location in the U.S. I think largely to, not have to deal with moving stuff across the border all the time, right? So their first location was on the waterfront in this factory down near the downtown. But then their second location, the one that most people know, is on Kenmore Avenue, 1585 Kenmore Avenue. If I had a good throwing arm, I could go out in my front yard and throw a rock and hit that building.
Nice.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what Gladstone Electronics is, I mean, look at like Radio Electronics magazine, Popular Electronics of the probably the early mid '80s eras, and you'll find advertisements for Gladstone.
Yeah, it was a stereo store up in Toronto, So, so on that
And one
note,
more thing. So, Joe,
sir.
before we go, you wanted to blank the old cartridge or the 512K cart? I mean, which, just so we don't have to email this.
Yeah, just the newest ones.
Okay.
So for the purpose of designing a case around it.
Right. Okay.
So whatever you want to,
I'll send you what I got. Yeah, because I got a bunch of I've got a bunch of the older, the previous revision that I just changed the dip switch on. So I can send you some of those, and then the interface board too, right?
Yeah.
Did you want one for the ROM cartridge thing too? Because it's a little bit different, but the cartridge is basically the same, other than it has 4 dip switches, but the interface board's a little different, where the cartridge connector is.
Yeah, whatever you want me to try to build a case around.
Okay.
Whatever you want.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I know you were talking about selling you. No, I'll just send you the stuff, so no big deal.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Well, thanks.
All right.
Yeah, if you're making the case, that's why am I going to charge you for the boards for it? You're gonna definitely
you had to pay for them.
Your help. Well, yeah, but you're hopefully it'd be nice to get a case, because I can't do that, or at least not yet. Anyway, thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah. That's why we have these meetings.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, gentlemen. Have a good afternoon.
Ciao.
Bye, guys.